my name is Sarita.
And my name is Rena.
We are both past patients with Mexico Bariatric Center, and we are here to break the stigma of having weight loss surgery in Tijuana, Mexico. We will be covering all things bariatric to help you get the most out of this weight loss journey.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Can You Stomach This?
Hello, everyone. On today's episode, we are going to talk about you've booked, now what? On this episode, we will talk about what happens after you book.
Yeah, can you stomach this?
Yes.
Yes, you can. So once you've booked, there is a lot to do. There's a lot of steps, a lot of things that need to take place, some important stuff. And let's dive right in and talk about what those things are.
Okay, so if you book your surgery months in advance, you may not hear from your patient coordinator for a while.
Right.
This does not mean they have forgotten about you. You are welcome to call or text them anytime, and you can also call anyone at the main office with any questions.
Mm-hmm.
We have several coordinators who would be able to answer your questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people all the time, you've booked pretty far out.
Right.
And so, you know, you might not hear from me unless I need something from you, but
Right.
you know, you can call me, text me anytime. If you just need to say, hey, I'm having surgery, or hey, how are you? Or hey, you know, how's it going?
So your patient coordinator or an office admin will contact you if any additional documents or information is needed for your file. So, I mean, if nothing's needed, they're not going to contact you.
Right.
So don't panic.
Don't panic.
Do not
panic.
panic.
So let's take a second. Like, what was, did you book far out? Did you book,
No.
How did you book?
I booked, and within 2 weeks I was having surgery. So I didn't even have time, to worry about anything like that. Like they sent me a list of what I needed to upload. I uploaded it. My file was complete. And I mean, it was so fast. And I wasn't on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I didn't, have any, information about
You just went
the
into
process.
it blind.
I went into it
and
blind.
alone, right?
Yes, and alone. But best thing I ever did.
Okay, yeah, but it worked out and everybody took great care of you.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it was flawless.
Right. So for me, I actually was one of those people who booked way in advance. And so for many, many months, I didn't have anything to do. So it was like I booked surgery in I want to say January, February. And then my surgery wasn't until May. And I didn't have anything to do until I started my pre-op diet in March. So it was kind of like, well, what do I do now? You know?
Like a waiting game.
It is a waiting game, but what I found was that joining the patient support Facebook group, it kept me connected to the bariatric world. It kept me excited about surgery. I got to watch other people go through their journeys and be supportive to them.
Right.
Meanwhile, they were supporting me just by the encouragement that they shared. I was watching other people go through their pre-op phases, pre-op diet, and then also their post-op phases. So I kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah, I didn't have any of that.
Yeah, and so I think it's great. So once you've booked, one of the things to do, especially if you book really far out, is join that Facebook group because there's so much info in there, so much support there. And so Sarita is actually our Facebook admin.
I am.
She is.
We have lots
tell us about Facebook.
We have lots of pages. We have our Inside Mexico Bariatric. That is for potential patients who may want to book, and that they can join this page after they fill out a health questionnaire and submit it, and they can kind of join the page and ask questions and kind of get more information from other patients are on the page, other potential patients.
I encourage everybody to join that one too, because your experience is going to help other potential patients in the future.
And then we have our main group for booked patients. Only patients who have booked a surgery can be in this group, and it's a private group. It's only for patients. It's not for spouses. It's not for siblings or children, boyfriends, girlfriends. It's only for the patient, and we do that for their privacy. So please understand that. We also have monthly groups. So if you're having, surgery in October, we have an October group, and in that group, you can find people who are having surgery the same day as you. You can make friends before you go, and have someone to support you. You support them. Surgery siblings. That's what we call them.
I know. So everybody used to always say surgery sisters,
Right?
and then I was like, wait, dudes
There's
have
men.
surgery too.
Yeah. There's
So
men.
I kind of coined that surgery siblings.
I like it. Surgery siblings.
Surgery siblings. But so I do have some surgery sisters. I love my surgery sisters. We even from May 2018 and June 2021. I'm still friends with them, and we still still talk.
I'm still friends with a couple of them.
Yeah.
On Facebook. Excuse me, on Facebook, and I had surgery almost 6 years ago. So it's been nice to stay in touch with them, and we had this amazing experience together.
Yeah, it is. I tell people all the time that if you're going by yourself, you're not going to be alone.
Never.
You're with a driver. You're going to meet other people. Those people are going through the same experiences and the same experiences, somewhat similar fears, somewhat similar emotions, excitement for the future, things like that. So you're all kind of just going through that. So Facebook is definitely a place to get some really good support from other people who are going through it with you or have already gone through it.
Right. A lot of good information. You can ask questions there. I mean, it's great. It's really
I want to
great.
plug this in too because keep in mind though, sometimes people will say things that may or may not be true, but you just gotta, if you hear something that sounds off, contact your coordinator, ask Sarita, or just dig in and do your own research on it. Just
if you have a medical question, don't post it on Facebook looking for answers because everyone's going to have a different one. Really,
let's go to Jen.
Go to Jen, our
surgeon liaison,
and ask her directly. She's a doctor.
Yes, and her email, her contact info is in your confirmation email, and we will get to that as well. And
if you have a nutrition question, you can post it on Facebook, but to get the correct answer, you should email the nutritionist, call or text to get the correct answer. There's sometimes misinformation on Facebook, and we want everyone to be successful. We don't want you to have wrong information.
Absolutely. It's super also important to stay up to date with your coordinator.
Yes.
So always make sure everything is up to date.
Right, like your contact information. If that changes, your cell, phone number changes, let them know as soon as possible so they can get that into your file. If your email changes, again, let them know so they can get that in your file, because if they try and get a hold of you, if they need something, they need to have a good number. When the driver further in tries to contact you, they need to have a good number to contact you to meet you after your plane lands.
Yeah, and I have seen surgeries get canceled because patients couldn't be contacted and documents were needed and things like that.
Yeah.
So definitely make sure if your number changes that you get that to your coordinator.
Right. As soon as possible.
Super important. Don't want to get your surgery canceled because you can't be reached.
Right.
You don't want that to happen. So what are we going to do after booking, Sarita?
So
what's like the first thing after booking?
Well, we also want to stay up to date on a couple other things.
It's true.
Yes.
Weight.
Well, if your weight changes after you fill out your health questionnaire, you put your height and weight. And if it really, really changes, you want to let your patient coordinator know that, because that can change your BMI obviously, and that will change your pre-op time. It also might change your price if you're being charged for high BMI. So that's super important.
Yeah.
If you have any medical information that's changed, like different medications or a new diagnosis, they need to know that as well. So get that information to them as soon as possible.
That's very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 5 or 10 pounds usually doesn't matter.
Right, but if it's like 25, 50 pounds,
Yes.
and sometimes patients will put the wrong weight on their health questionnaire, and I've seen it happen where one lady she weighed 100 pounds more than she did, and that really
I've seen that a
drastically
lot.
changed. Yeah, so just look everything over, and make sure you go over it with your patient coordinator.
That's true. Very
Mm-hmm.
true.
Yeah.
And those weight changes, there's more than one high BMI fee. So
Right.
if you lose some weight, like on pre-op diet, you may go down to a different tier. So even though you don't remove the fee, you may lessen the fee.
Right.
And so now we can move on and talk about what happens after you book. So you've paid your deposit, you've told your coordinator your date. And so then the next thing that happens is that you get that confirmation email.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're officially on the calendar, you will get a confirmation email from your coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get one, contact them, let them know you didn't get it. I would say check your spam folder first.
Yes.
Check spam. If it's not in your spam folder, then contact your coordinator. But by all means, please read the entire confirmation email.
Yes.
Most of your questions can be answered by reading it.
Yes.
It has a lot of vital information about your next steps and things that you need to be doing. So check it for errors. You want to check the surgery type that you're having. Make sure it says you're having sleeve, if sleeve is what you signed up for. Make sure that it has the surgeon that you requested. If you wanted Dr. Valenzuela, make sure it says that your surgery is scheduled with Dr. Valenzuela. If you want to check your arrival dates, make sure that it says the dates that you had discussed with your coordinator and that the surgery date that you wanted is accurate. And then it'll also have the times that you want to book.
Right.
It'll have the flight times, which is always arrive before noon and depart after 2. And it'll have your balance. It'll have your total surgery cost minus the deposit that you paid. So it'll show you your remaining balance and show you ways to pay. There'll be specific information to you, such as medications that you might need to stop. If you put all your medications on that list, then your coordinator should include in that what you should stop taking. So if you're unsure, that's a Jen question. Jen's info is there.
Right.
If we need anything like cardio clearances or pulmonary clearances or anything like that, that'll be in that email. If you use a CPAP, there'll be a note in there about bring your CPAP machine. If the surgeon feels there's potential risk of anemia issues at surgery, that note will be in there. What are some other things that are in that email, Sarita?
So the Facebook group link will be in the email, and you can join from there. Driver and suitcase information.
Oh yeah, and then the pre-op diet.
The pre-op diet is in there.
And then of course we have already mentioned this, and I will mention it again because it is in there. The nutritionist contact info, as well as Jen's medical questions go all to Jen.
Right.
And all that is there. Everything that you essentially need is in that email. So
so print it out. Print the email out. I mean, that's the easiest way to have your information. I printed mine out. You have everything there. You can flip through it instead of going back on the computer and trying to scroll down and find it. Print it out if you can.
Yeah, that's good. You can stick it on your fridge or
and you have it right there.
Yeah, so now let's break down what all of these things are and talk about kind of what to do with each one of these pieces of information.
Okay.
So what about flights? We kind of mentioned that a little bit, but what's the deal with flights?
You need to arrive before 12 noon the day before surgery because you're going to have pre-op that day. And when you get picked up at the airport, they're going to take you most likely to the hotel to check in, drop off your stuff, then go to pre-op. So you want to get there before 12 noon. Your return flight will be after 2 p.m. the day you're discharged. And you want to make sure your flight is definitely after 2. Coming back over the border can take, I don't know, less than an hour? It could take several hours. So you want to make sure that your flight is, further out, Not don't book it in the morning. Sunday is usually a really busy day to cross, so just keep that in mind.
Yes.
If
Weekends
you can't,
in general.
right? Yeah,
definitely
weekends. If you can't find a flight after 2 p.m., you can always talk to your coordinator about staying an extra day in San Diego, or can they stay in Tijuana?
It depends on if they
they're
can get a
full.
flight after 2 p.m. the next day.
Right. So you can talk to your coordinator about that. If you can't find a flight after 2, maybe spend an extra night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And currently, we have a hotel that gives a discount to our patients, and our
Right.
drivers pick up and drop off from that hotel
Right.
at no charge.
But most, hotels near the airport have a shuttle.
They do.
To the
Most all of
airport.
them do. And if
Yeah.
you're interested in that one, ask your coordinator.
Right.
Just ask your coordinator about that. And now, if your flight arrives at 1:55, that's okay.
Right.
At 12:55, that's okay. And if it departs at 1:55, that's okay. It's not gonna be a problem if it's like a 5-minute
And
difference.
sometimes people have canceled flights. They miss their connecting flight.
Yeah.
I mean, things happen.
Yes.
So, worst case scenario is you arrive the day of surgery or late the night before, and you have your pre-op before surgery.
Very true.
It happens.
It happens. It's not preferred.
No, but it happens.
But we're gonna do whatever we can to accommodate you having
Right.
surgery.
Right.
But we're not gonna plan on arriving afternoon.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So next we are going to talk about payment methods. And your payment for your surgery is due 2 weeks before surgery.
Yes, it is always due 2 weeks before surgery. There's like a large handful of ways you can pay for
yes.
surgery. I mean, like so many ways. There are 3 that are used the most. My 2 favorite ones are the cashier's check method and Zelle payments. If you choose the cashier's check, what you'll do is you'll go to your bank, you'll get a cashier's check made out to Mexico Bariatric Center. Then you take a picture of that check, and the picture of that check is due 2 weeks before. So you need to email that into inbound@Mexico Bariatric Center, and that serves as payment. And then you bring that with you.
Do not forget the check. We've had patients forget the check.
Don't forget the check, because you
forget.
cannot have surgery without the check.
Right. You have to have that check.
You have to have it. If you forget it, then you are subject to having to make a credit card payment at the hospital to cover your surgery. Zelle is another way. Oh, and most banks don't charge for cashier's check.
No.
If they do, it's a very small fee.
Yeah, it's very minimal.
So that's one of my reasons that I like the cashier's check method. Also, Zelle. Zelle is free. It's absolutely free. It costs nothing to Zelle. Banks do have daily limits for Zelle, so you can't start if your bank's limit is $1,000 a day and you owe $4,000 on your surgery. You can't make your first $1,000 payment on your payment due date. Don't do that. It needs to be all paid by the payment due date. So start making those payments.
And find out what the daily limit is for your bank.
Yes. And one thing I like about Zelle too is we have a lot of patients who book far out, and then they just pay kind of weekly, like a little bit, a couple $100.
I love Zelle.
And they just Zelle it right over, and it's free.
It's
it
free.
costs absolutely nothing. It's so easy. It's Zelle@MexicoBariatricCenter.com. And just send that. You just send the payment right over. And then credit card is also another one of the ones that a lot of people seem to use. I don't recommend it because there is a 5% processing fee for credit card payments. And who wants to pay a couple $100 on a couple of $1,000?
I did.
She does.
I didn't know.
So, you might not have done that if you'd have known otherwise.
I might.
Right?
No, I would have done a cashier's check or Zelle. I didn't know. Maybe I didn't read my confirmation email, or maybe
Zelle
it all
didn't
happened.
exist back when we had surgery the first
It all
time.
happened so quickly that I just said, "I'll do credit card."
I'm just gonna pay for it when I get there.
Well, yeah.
Or however it worked.
That's how it worked.
Yeah. So, but you definitely can always do the 2 free ones, which is Zelle and cashier's check. Some people want to put it on their card because they're charging it to their credit card. Maybe they have 0% interest.
And then also some people get miles, and they get, what do they get, cash back, like a certain percentage?
Yeah.
So, some people do that, or they want, miles or whatever.
Yeah, and so definitely you can do all of those. Those are my 3 favorite, but there are some other ways to pay.
So we have wire transfer. We have bank deposit. We do offer financing through a third-party financing company.
There's actually lots of them.
Right, there's actually a lot. So ask your coordinator for details on the financing. They will be able to help you with that. There's a link, right?
Yeah.
You can pay cash. I don't really suggest taking that much cash.
I mean,
people do.
You can travel with a couple $1,000 if you want, but you do have to actually take a picture of the cash and send it in, just like the cashier's check method if you're going to pay with cash. So,
right. So one thing that is an absolute no personal checks accepted.
Yeah, none at all.
You cannot write a personal check. It's absolutely not accepted.
Not at all. Yep. And so, again, I use cashier's check methods. To me, that was just easy. I probably would have used Zelle. I guess Zelle was an option last year. I just didn't.
I would have used it if it was available.
Yeah. I like the cashier's check. It was so easy. Get it, take a picture, send it in.
Yeah.
It was easy. Super, super easy. So then, also included in that confirmation email is nutrition and pre-op guideline information. You'll find your link to it there, to the pre-op guidelines there, and also how long your pre-op diet should be is listed there. It tells you it's based on BMI and tells you what your BMI is. So, Sarita, you want to tell us more about the nutritional and part of that?
So BMI is it's BMI based, and it can range from 2 days of clear liquids to 8 weeks of pre-op diet, with the last 2 days being clear liquids. Some surgeons require more than 8 weeks.
It's not super common.
It's not super common, but it does happen if your BMI is really high. They just want to be extra careful and to make sure that your liver is very small. So the nutritionist will contact you through text and email with your pre-op instructions, and you can email, text, or call them at any time with any questions you might have. It's a lot of information, and I highly suggest printing it out and really reading through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you only have a 2-day clear liquid diet, there are guidelines you need to start following in the weeks leading up to surgery. Even if the nutritional part, like the food part, is only 2 days clear liquids.
Right.
You have to stop caffeine. You have to
alcohol.
Stop taking like omega-3s. It's all there.
Yeah,
it's all there.
There's a lot of other things that you have to factor in. It's not just you get to do 2 days of clear liquids and that's it. There's more to it than that.
Right. And so for me, I had both a 6-week and an 8-week pre-op diet. And I had a lot of time to read over that pre-op diet in that confirmation, like just a lot of time to read over it before I started. I had 2 months before I even had to start the pre-op diet. So I had a lot of time to go over it. And then one thing I like to tell people, because especially if you book far out, like say you book surgery in October and your surgery is in June of the following year, you have a long way to go. Especially if even if you had an 8-week prep diet, especially if you have like a 1 or 2 week prep diet, you have a long way to go. But one thing I tell people, it doesn't matter how far out you're booking, is start practicing the 30-minute rule, because what is the 30-minute rule?
The 30-minute rule is no drinking 30 minutes before a meal, no drinking during the meal, no drinking 30 minutes after a meal.
Right. So that is a lifelong habit that has to be broken. We are taught from the time we are like set in a high chair and handed a plate, we are given a sippy cup. So we are taught to eat and drink from the moment we learn to eat solid foods.
And wash it down.
Wash it down. Yes. Here, honey, wash this down. That's what we do. And so it's very important post-bariatric surgery to not eat and drink at the same time and to wait that 30 minutes before and after. Even in the maintenance phase, that is important.
I still do it. I never drink 30 minutes before, after, or during a meal, for that matter.
Right.
Never.
It's crucial for so many reasons. You want to get in your nutrients, and if you filled your
Mm-hmm.
tummy with water or whatever liquid, then there's not room for food.
Right.
And but that is in a whole other podcast, and you can check
Right.
that out.
But just the 30-minute rule is super important.
It is important, and if you've booked far out, you've got plenty of time to practice that.
Yes.
So do that. That's one thing you can start doing now, regardless of how far out you book. That is something you can do.
Yeah.
And so
Next we are on to packing. And so yeah, so we do have a packing list on our website, but a lot of people ask in the Facebook group, what do you recommend I pack? So there's some good ideas there. But you will bring a small carry-on suitcase and a spinner bag with the 4 wheels that turn, like it can spin around, is ideal for this journey.
Yeah, so the first time I went, I did tilt and pull.
I don't like it.
And it was like,
I don't like that.
I don't like the tilt and pull.
No.
It was a lot of work.
And you're
especially
pulling,
post-surgery.
Yes, and it's
You have to
hard.
tilt it and pull that
With
weight.
spinner, you just walk along with it, you know.
It almost serves as like a walker.
It does.
The spinner wheels.
Yes.
So I totally recommend the spinner wheels. A lot of
Yeah.
people say, can I just take a backpack or a duffel bag? Well,
You can.
you
but
can,
you have
but
to
I don't
carry
recommend
it.
it because you're not supposed to carry more than 15 pounds for the first couple of weeks after surgery.
Right.
And most people can't take what they need for less than 15 pounds.
Right.
So it's not super recommended. You
Mhm.
can do it. People have done it, but it's still just not
Right.
ideal. That spinner wheels, carry
Do it.
on. And people say, what is carry-on size? Google is your friend.
Yes.
Check with your airline, actually. So whichever
Mhm.
airline you're flying with, under their carry-on
They'll
information,
have the dimensions.
it'll have the dimensions.
The height, the width, the depth, and you know, when you go shopping for a carry-on, it'll also say
It does say it on
carry-on
yeah,
approved. So
it does say carry-on on them.
yeah.
Well, I would say most of them do. In
They're
my
pretty
experience.
standard.
It is a pretty standard size.
Mhm.
And so you also can bring medical necessity bags. So our drivers are not going to charge you if you bring that small carry-on. However, if you do bring like a larger suitcase or like a really big suitcase, any suitcase that has to be checked on a plane
they will charge
is
you.
going to have a fee with our driver. But medical necessity bags don't count. So, like most airlines allow 1 carry-on bag, 1 personal bag.
Mhm.
Personal bag being like a purse or a
backpack.
small backpack.
Right.
But medical necessity bags don't count in that.
Mhm.
And so, if you need to bring medical necessities, you can, and it's not going to count against you. You're not going to be charged for that.
I did not know
Not with the airline nor with our drivers. So, if you need to bring your CPAP machine and you have the little carry bag, the little tote
Mhm.
bag for your CPAPy, I call them CPAPies.
that.
If you have the little carry-on bag, little carry bag for your CPAPy, or if you have a bag of just medicines.
Right.
When I went as a companion, the patient I went with had a large bag of medicine, and that bag did not count as a carry-on bag.
My dad travels that way. He has a
Yes.
big duffel bag full of medication.
Yes.
You know, and they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had like 3 medical necessity bags, and the purse, and the carry-on bag, and my suitcase, and my personal bag. So
a lot of baggage.
I was like a pack mule going to Mexico with that. Like it was funny. So anyway, I did feel like a pack mule. As a matter of fact, my the patient that I went with took a picture of me carrying all this stuff and pulling these 2 suitcases to the airport, which was really great for me because this was 1 year post my surgery, and prior to my own surgery, I couldn't have done any of that.
Right.
So it was kind of a thing. But yeah, definitely don't bring a suitcase that's too big, but you can bring medical necessity bags. That is not a problem.
Especially if you're traveling alone, you don't want to bring a big bag that you have to check.
And you don't need that much.
You don't need that much.
Yeah.
You need very little.
Very little.
And if you look at our packing list, either on Facebook or on the website, you'll see how little you need.
Yeah, or contact me. I'll give you my packing list.
Right. Yeah.
People
she's
like my
nice.
packing list. It's on Facebook too.
So next we are on to travel documents, and this is a very popular question.
It is.
So they highly recommend a passport card, a passport book.
Either
And
one.
you can expedite these to get them quicker. It does cost a little bit more, but highly recommended.
And I say if you're only getting a passport to go on this trip and you're never planning on flying out of the country, then just get the card.
Right.
Like, you don't need
It's
the book.
Yeah.
The book is for flying in and out of the country, and the card gets you land and boat travel.
Right. Well, when I went to Cuba, I had to have a passport. I couldn't do a card.
Did you go by boat?
But went by boat.
Oh, wow,
because
that's
it's Cuba, I guess. So
yeah.
yes, I had to have my passport. So anyway.
Yeah, that's cool. So you can also cross the border with enhanced ID or real ID, which is the IDs that have the gold or black star. And I think if you're in, is it California? It's a bear. It's not.
I like that.
It is.
I want a bear. I'm from California. I need to have
you
that.
don't have a California ID.
No, I do not.
So with your ID, you get the gold star.
I have a gold star.
Oh, gold stars.
I have a gold star.
I like gold stars.
Yeah.
I strive for them every day.
Okay.
Anyway, so you can use that enhanced ID, but you will also have to have an original birth certificate. Original doesn't mean it's the one that you got the day you were born or when you were born. It means the one that came from vital records. So as long as it has that raised seal on it, you can get it. If you don't have a passport and you don't have an enhanced ID, all states do offer them. As of January of 2023, January 1, 2023, all flights require enhanced or real IDs to fly, even domestically.
That's only 3 months from now.
I know. So all states do offer them.
Okay.
Some states you get them automatically. I know, like in Georgia, all residents automatically have one. It's not something you have to do extra to get. They're not hard to get. Most states get them back to you within 2 to 3 weeks after you go in to get one.
Definitely work on getting your enhanced ID.
Definitely, because I believe it's going to start being like a thing everywhere. It is for flights starting.
Right. Well, it was supposed to be in October of 2020, but COVID.
Yeah.
Remember? It was October. Yeah. So that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So it's enhanced or real ID. It's essentially the same thing. As long as you have the gold or black star, you're good.
Okay. So next thing that we are going to go over is driver contact. Yes. The driver will contact you the night before arrival. We don't know exactly what time. We just know that is what they do. Make sure your coordinator has your up-to-date contact information for them, because they get a list of patients and phone numbers. When you do, you're waiting for that call, make sure to answer if it's an unfamiliar number, because obviously they won't be in your contacts.
I mean, I don't usually answer numbers I don't know, but like if I'm waiting on a driver to call,
Right. So they're going to be calling you, and they might try and call you while you're still up in the air, right? Sometimes that happens.
It depends on when you're traveling, but often they try to reach you before your flight.
Like when I went, they had texted me and called me and sent a picture. So I was, in transit.
Yeah.
They will definitely let you know when and where to meet them.
And so typically you don't wait more than a couple minutes. Right. I know in the 3 times that I went out there, we didn't wait more than 20 minutes for sure.
Yeah.
But don't panic. Your driver will be there. If you've waited 30 minutes and you haven't talked to your driver, then don't panic. If you have made contact with your driver,
don't panic.
Then don't panic. If you are in San Diego and you have not spoken or communicated one word with your driver, then you should probably reach out to your coordinator, call or text your coordinator or the main office if it's during business hours.
Right.
If it's outside of business hours, then Sarita,
you can find me on Facebook. You can tag me. You can message me on Messenger, but if we're not friends, I won't see it, so you can send me a friend request. Yeah. I have my phone with me all the time. It will notify me when that happens. I do sleep at night.
But nobody should be arriving.
But nobody should be arriving late at night, so it should be pretty much, during the day. So just I'll do what I can to help you. I have direct contact with the drivers, so I can message them immediately.
Yes, and does your coordinator.
And yes, your coordinators too.
Or anybody in the main office can help
But
you
if
out.
you can't reach them,
Yeah, and then also, what was it like for you, like when you arrived? Like you already mentioned, like they contacted you in air.
Yeah, so Willie had contacted me like text message, telephone. He sent a picture on the text message, and it was a picture of him in the vehicle.
Hey, I'm Willie.
Hey, I'm
my
Willie.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when they told me to meet at the curb, I went out there and I waited, and they had 2 or 3 people. I think it was 3 in the car already. So that's why they weren't there immediately, because they were circling around picking up another few passengers. So that's fine. Don't panic if they have more than one person to pick up.
And I want to say this too. A lot of people think that they're meeting a van at 12 o'clock and the van is taking like a whole bunch of people like a shuttle. And that's not how it works.
No.
Your experience will be with a driver, a personal driver. Willie is going to pick you up.
Or another driver. It might not be Willie.
Yeah, I mean, but for example, if Willie's the driver, he's picking you up. There's also Ricardo. There's like so many drivers, but they're gonna get you when you arrive. Well, within a few minutes of when you arrive. It's not arrive at 9 o'clock, wait for 3 hours till 12.
Right, and
it's
sometimes the driver might be in the middle of crossing the border. They may have gotten held up there for some reason. And if they're in constant contact with you and say, hey, I'll be there in 30 minutes, and they still haven't shown up, and they say it again, just, be patient, because something may have happened at the border where there's a delay or something.
And the drivers don't text and drive. So if you're texting them and they're en route to you, they're not going to
answer. Yeah, so don't panic.
Don't panic. They'll be there. If you have made contact with them, they will be fine. There. The only time to worry is if you've had 0 contact with them, which means maybe your phone number was wrong, maybe your phone number changed. For some reason, somebody couldn't get in touch with you.
And it's really important that when you do book your surgery, that you let your patient coordinator know if you're bringing a companion. You can't just bring a companion and not tell them, and you can't bring more than one companion and not tell them, because for one thing, they have to make sure there's enough hotel rooms for you and there's enough room in the driver's vehicle.
I mean, the driver may have 3 open seats with 3 passengers planned. If you show up with 2 people, there's been cases yourself, then that it throws a wrench in everybody's
experience. And so no surprises. Just tell your coordinator.
Yeah, I love Willie. Willie was my driver twice of the 3 times I went, and he does send that picture of himself. Hey, I'm Willie. I love it. It's great. I loved all the drivers. Don't get me wrong; they were all incredible. Mad props to all the drivers.
So that brings us to extra fees, and we just talked about companions. So if you do have a companion, there's a companion fee. So make sure you tell your patient coordinator. Even if you add an extra person, like last minute, they have to know this.
Yes, a second companion. You can bring a second companion. Just make sure your coordinator knows you're doing that.
I've seen people bring 3 companions, but they have to know.
Yes, absolutely. So about extra charges, people always want to know, will I have extra charges? Yeah, you could. Will you? We don't know, but potentially you could have extra charges. In terms of extra charges, there are 2 things that are most common that we see: medications and hiatal hernias. With medications, there's a standard of medication that's included in your package. If you need more than what's included and you ask for more at the hospital will charge you for that.
Right. You might ask for something different than what is included in the package.
Yeah, so the package is like kind of what the basic needs are, but we don't all live in a box.
No.
So some of us need more.
Yes.
And some of us might want something to help us sleep.
Me.
Yeah. So
that was my extra charge. I'm like, I need something to sleep.
Yes, if you ask for something to help you sleep, and that's outside of the pain medicine.
Right.
And even if you ask for more pain medicine than what they're giving you, then you're gonna have extra charges.
Right.
And most people who ask for extra medicine usually see $20 to $50 in charges. I honestly cannot tell you what my first extra charge, the
20.
first time. I don't remember.
Mine was $20.
It was definitely less than 50. I want to say it was in the $20 to $30 range.
Yeah, minimal.
Yeah, it was very minimal. And then the second time it was for sure $23. Like it was like $22.98 or something. It was really cheap. And then the other one, like I mentioned, was hiatal hernias. Hiatal hernias do have to be repaired. Our surgeons will not do your surgery without repairing that hiatal hernia.
And you do don't you sign a waiver?
You do before you go in surgery.
Before you go in surgery, saying if they do find, hiatal hernia, you agree to have it repaired, and you will pay for it.
Yes,
before
absolutely.
you leave the hospital.
Yes, and that fee is $395.
Right.
Currently.
And a lot of patients don't know they have one.
No. Listen, I did not have one, of course, the first surgery, but the second surgery, I did have a hiatal hernia. And the strange thing is, I know when it happened. So, I was already booked for surgery. I was just about to start my pre-op diet, and I started getting this terrible indigestion. And I was like, this is horrible. And I kept thinking I'd ruined my stomach, or I kept thinking, oh no, I might have ulcers and I won't get to have surgery. Like I was so kind of freaking out. And I got there and my doctor was like, you're fine, it's going to be okay. And I get there and I had a hiatal hernia. And so they repaired that hiatal hernia. Of course, I had the fee. Right. The neatest thing is that when you have the hiatal hernia, they show you that it was you on the table and that it was your hiatal hernia. Right. They show the tear and they show the repair.
Right, but they don't give you a copy of that.
You don't get a copy of that.
You get to see it, but you are not taking home a copy.
Right. And so so they do show you that you had the hiatal hernia, because people have said, well, how do I know that?
I had that? You're right. They show a picture of you.
They show you.
Screen. Yes, you can see it.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. It was kind of strange, but it was pretty neat. So anyway, they do have to repair that, and that fee is $395, like I mentioned.
Right.
And those are the two most common. There are other things, but they're not that common.
And you do get a list of that in your confirmation email, right?
I think so. I'm not 100% on that.
Anyway, if you have questions, you can ask your patient coordinator. It's also on the website.
Yeah, there is a little video blurb about it.
There is a list of, extra fees that could happen.
Yeah. I don't think the medication pricing is there because that's subject to change.
It's miscellaneous.
Yeah.
But I think you go over that in pre-op.
You do.
Right. Carla will tell you about that.
Carla does go over all that with you in pre-op.
Tipping. If you would like to tip, bring cash and small bills, 1s, 5s, 10s. Don't bring bigger bills because you might not get change. And tipping is not mandatory or required. Personally, when I went, I didn't know about tipping. I tipped the drivers. Didn't tip anyone at the hospital. But that does not mean that your care is going to be any less, or it has nothing to do with that. It's just saying thank you, and it's up to you.
Yes, it is totally up to you. You're not going to get any less quality of care because you don't tip. Right. Sarita did not know about tipping when she went, and her quality of care was amazing.
Yeah.
I did know about tipping when I went because of the Facebook group, because of that Facebook group support and watching other people's journeys. Right. People always say, who do you tip? How much do you tip? I personally tip the drivers $5 for each ride, and the nurses $5 for each shift. Some people tip $1, some $2, some $10. That is completely up to you. It is not mandatory. It is it's up to you. It's totally your choice.
Yeah, it's not mandatory.
Absolutely.
Or required.
It has become an odd customary thing for tipping nurses in Mexico.
Yeah, we wouldn't tip nurses here.
We don't, but they do.
It's a different country, different culture. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. And so that, like Sarita mentioned before, companion fees. Make sure you tell your coordinator there is a companion fee. Right. And also make sure your companion brings cash and small bills. Right. There is breakfast included at the hotel. But if they go out for lunch, to a restaurant or to a convenience store for snacks or drinks.
Right.
They try to buy like a $1 drink with a $20 bill, or if
You might not get change.
They can't give you change for a $20 bill. You don't have to exchange your money
For pesos.
but they really want you to pay them with American cash.
Yes, they like American dollars.
They do very much like American dollars. I never went anywhere that didn't want the American. As a matter of fact, I pulled out some change that I got in pesos and was going to pay for it with pesos. And the guy saw my American money. And he's like, "Oh, American money." He pointed to it and he was telling me he wanted American money.
Yes.
And so that was at one of the little convenience stores. But meals for your companion, they're pretty cheap. Like if you go, a whole meal is like $5, no more than 10. And again, don't try to pay for a taco meal with a $20 bill, because you can't, there's no change for that. You basically just get whatever they got, and in other words, you'll pay more for your food than what you would have had to. Yeah.
So next we are going to talk about labs. So your pre-op labs are included, but recommended to have labs before you arrive for surgery. So that way you have a starting point for your post-op monitoring. And the number one reason for being denied in Tijuana is anemia. So, that's important to have your labs done before you arrive.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually tell people you want to get those labs done 2 to 4 weeks before.
Right.
As a matter of fact, that's another thing to check in your confirmation email, because you may be required to provide labs.
Right.
Some surgeons, for some patients, require that you show your labs prior to surgery, and
after looking at your health questionnaire.
Based on your health questionnaire. Like if anemia is already a concern, then they may it may say on your confirmation email, must not be anemic at time of surgery, which means you really need to get your lab checked.
So read your confirmation email.
Or it may even say labs required before surgery. Some surgeons do definitely require that. And you just don't want to get to TJ and be told you're anemic, because you've just spent thousands of dollars on finding out you're anemic and can't have surgery.
Yeah, you don't want to get canceled.
You don't. And they're not going to do your surgery if it's not safe for you.
Nope, they're not.
And if you'd have done your labs like 2 weeks before going, then you would have known and you could have made arrangements. So in my experience, my doctor wanted that starting point before surgery, and she recommended that we do my labs. So we did labs 2 weeks before, and then that way we had a marker for my post-op labs every 3 months.
So I didn't have time to do labs because it all happened so quickly. So I did my labs when I got back. I followed up with a bariatric doctor, a local one, who agreed to take me on this patient. And we did labs every 3 months, and now I do them once a year. But yeah, I didn't have time for labs, but they were fine when I got there.
Yeah.
So it all worked out.
That's great. That's great. So we wanted to answer a couple of questions that we've gotten from you guys.
Yes, Q&A.
So Q&A. So for our first Q&A, Sarah in New Mexico says, "What happens if my weight changes?"
So we kind of went over this earlier, but we'll go over it again. So if your weight changes, whether you gain weight, lose weight, it's just really important to let your patient coordinator know, because your pre-op could change, your price could change. So just, be honest. It's okay if it went up. No worries. Again,
it's not going to change your approval.
Right.
If it goes up.
For
sure.
Right. So just let them know that, it has changed, so they can get it into your file and, get the right pre-op diet links for you.
Yeah. And then also with lower BMIs, if your BMI is like, say, 29 and you've lost some weight, let your coordinator know, because that is kind of the only time it could potentially affect your surgery. Not always, because if it was that easy to lose weight and keep it off, we wouldn't need surgery to start with. So it's not always going to affect, but if you went from 29 to 26, it might be some concern, depending on the surgeon as well.
Right, because, a normal BMI is like 24.
Yeah.
You're not too far away, but there's a reason that you want to have surgery.
Now, if you're in that morbid, obese, or that really high obese category, and you lose some weight, don't worry about it. It's not going to change your approval.
It's just added bonus.
No, not at all. And then so Jason in North Carolina wants to know, how do I get my wife on board for surgery?
So some suggestions.
It's a good
question.
I just want to say that's a good one.
Yeah.
I actually get that a lot. How do I convince my husband?
Right.
How do I get my wife?
Yeah, I don't usually get those questions.
I get those a lot.
Because you're a coordinator. So we came up with something. So we've been doing podcasts now for a few months. Mm-hmm. So send them the podcast that shows our experience and some of the things that we've gone through, and like the pre-op and post-op and things like that. Mm-hmm. They have it on YouTube, Spotify,
Apple,
all you can listen to it or watch it. Have your patient coordinator talk to your spouse.
I've definitely done that too.
Answer questions. I've actually talked to spouses before, and I'm happy to do that. I'll answer any questions.
Me too.
You can let your spouse look at the support group under your name. Obviously, they can't join in their name, but they can go onto your Facebook page with you there, and they can, look at the group.
And that's the Inside Mexico
Inside
group,
right? Not the regular group, but the inside. And if they want to, search for things, and ask if they want you to ask questions, you can do that. So
and dig in our website.
Yeah, and go to our website.
Look at the success stories. Instagram is full of success stories.
TikTok.
Oh yeah, TikTok.
Yeah.
Instagram has so many before and afters, and I know that just seeing before and afters does not help answer like health related questions. I get that. Contact your coordinator if your spouse is really concerned.
Right.
I don't know a coordinator that wouldn't talk to a spouse.
Yes.
At all. And if it's questions that the coordinator can't answer, they may refer you to Jen and let Jen talk about it.
Or even nutrition.
Yeah, even nutrition. Mm-hmm. Nutrition will be glad to go over things about nutrition. But it's not impossible. We will do what we can to help you.
And you can also schedule a consultation with a doctor. It does cost. There's a fee involved.
It's $350.
But you can also do that.
And then if you book, that $350 is applied to your deposit. So you're not just paying $350 for no reason.
That's something to consider.
Yeah, it goes to it. So good luck with that, Jason, and let us know if you'd like us to help you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next we have David in Alabama. David wants to know if you can get your gallbladder removed with surgery.
You can actually, for the most part. Most of the surgeons will do it electively. There is a fee, of course. Dr. Valenzuela is the only surgeon that will not remove a gallbladder if there is not a history of gallbladder complication. And you can't just tell her, oh, it hurts.
You have to have documented proof.
She wants the documents from your doctor. She wants the documents. But if you do have gallbladder issues and you have documentation of that, be it test or whatever, from your doctor, you can send that in to your coordinator. It'll get sent over to Dr. V, and she'll approve that. With all the other surgeons, you just need to let your coordinator know that you want to electively remove it. I want to say this. If you haven't had gallbladder issues, it's not necessary to remove your gallbladder.
I have my gallbladder.
I have my gallbladder.
And I'm keeping my gallbladder.
I am as long as I can.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with it.
Me either.
At all. So
I don't have gallbladder issues. So one of the things that is a misconception is that you have to get your gallbladder taken out to have bariatric surgery, or that you should, because bariatric surgery will cause your gallbladder to go bad. Those are all not true statements. So if you want your gallbladder removed, go for it, David. You can do that.
Yeah, some patients who lose weight really, really quickly have gallbladder issues, and that might be a reason that you want to get your gallbladder out. But I don't know. In my opinion, why remove a healthy organ?
And that is Dr. Valenzuela's opinion, which is why she won't do it unless there's a problem.
I'm fine. My gallbladder's fine.
Yeah, I'm glad I kept mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you want it done, or if you have problems with it, absolutely, David, you can have your gallbladder removed for a fee.
Oh, yes, 4 feet.
4 feet.
Rebecca from California would like to know, how do I mentally prepare for surgery?
So, that is such an easy yet tough question. It depends. Support. You need support, right?
You definitely need support. If you're, your whole family's against it, or your kids, or, you tell people and they're like coworkers and they're all against it, you're not going to have any support that way.
I don't want to tell people to keep it quiet, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think that was probably one of the best things for me.
I didn't tell anyone. Not one person.
I told more people than you, but I still told very few. Like, it was my very small circle. And sometimes I kind of wish I'd have kept it smaller. Yeah. But if you're already, if you're anxious about surgery, I would say definitely keep your circle small in terms of the people around you. But definitely find support groups. Find other people who have gone through it. That Facebook group. Do your research. Do your research on the surgeons. Do your research on the surgery itself. You can talk to your coordinator. You can talk to Jen. The nutritionist as well. Yeah, Sarita.
You can do counseling if your insurance, has that, or, or you could even go to other support groups.
Yeah, definitely. I would say definitely the support is the biggest thing for mentally preparing. And I want to reiterate, start that 30-minute rule. Just start that.
That's a good way to prepare.
It is a good way to prepare because it gives you something to do that says, I'm really doing this.
Right.
I'm gonna do something that's difficult. And it sounds easy, don't eat and drink before and after dinner or meals, but
again, we're so used to it.
Yeah, it sounds easy until you have to do it.
Yes.
And even almost 5 years post-op, that's hard sometimes. Sometimes. And I'm the weirdo that just tells this server I don't want to drink at all.
I always say I'll have a water and then I don't touch it.
I know, and then they're like, is something wrong?
Always. If I know,
I just don't get the water. I just tell them I don't want it.
Even with food, is something wrong?
Are you sure you don't want to drink? Yeah, but it's okay. But yeah, definitely find that support, and that would be a great way for you to mentally prepare, Rebecca. And then Lisa in Georgia wants to know, so she says, my BMI is 55. Can I start my pre-op diet early?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, by all means, go for it.
Start as early as you like.
Especially if your BMI is 55, because it is high and it puts you in the high BMI feet. And if you start your pre-op diet early, you may lose weight. You're not required to. But the earlier you start the pre-op diet, the healthier your liver would be.
And you may not have to pay the high BMI fee.
And you may lose some weight and drop that fee.
Yeah. And it's good to, if you want to start early, it's good. You can start, developing some healthy habits for post-op.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to wrap it up right there.
Yes.
And send us your questions. We'll be glad to help answer your questions too.
Yes.
You can email those to us. You can catch that email at the end. You can call or text us. Also catch that phone number at the end. And otherwise, we look forward to next time.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all. Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.
If you have any questions or want to share your bariatric weight loss journey, you can call or text us at 480-999-4826 or send an email to podcast@mexicobariatriccenter.com. You can also follow Mexico Bariatric Center on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Keep in mind, these are the opinions of the host. The views represented do not reflect or define the values of Mexico Bariatric Center. This podcast is sponsored by Emerge Bariatrics and Mexico Bariatric Center. Please visit mexicobariatriccenter.com for more information.